Alrighty, well, here's going to be over the Green Man guide. How everyone's wondering how I'm doing this or how I'm stacking these buffs and getting this insane damage using the Devastator. Shout out to the Reddit users who have gone through this already and put into writing on their findings and analysed the stacking. But what I'm going to do today, I'm going to tell you everything that I know, I understand, and just an easier way to interpret everything and how the stacking works using Fortress, Primal Armor, and Mighty Tank. First, I'm going to go over the build. I'll then show you the skills. I'll show you the skill tree, and then I'll explain how the stacking works and how to continuously stack it over and over again as a ramp up, and some of the mods I've been using and trying out, and what works, what doesn't, what you can kind of phase out of your builds already and just kind of put into some new ideas. If you guys do find anything interesting in this video, please give it a like, comment and subscribe, and if you do have any questions, please put in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer them. In saying that, let's just go through it. So let's start off with the general stuff. So I've been using the Fatal Symbiote. It's just kind of works pretty well with Dark Sacrifice and Fortress. You just always, Dark Sacrifice is going to always reduce your health, which you kind of want to do, because I'm always trying to proc Death's Door on the end, just double your armor, but it is a little bit hard, so to kind of merge it into the cycle that I do between Fortress and Primal Armor, though I'll go into this a bit more in depth at the end. So right now I'm using Dark Sacrifice, so I do heavily kind of try to do ultimate bleeding bullets, even using ultimate damage link. Remember, Fortress is going to be a staple on this because this is what's going to multiply your damage as a kind of just as a flat bonus consistently over and over again. And in saying that, it's just going to kind of save your damage as one number, and then Primal Armor is going to take it as another. But I'll talk more on that later on. Now, moving on, pistol I'm not really I've been trying to kind of cycle via Fortress, because every time you switch a weapon, you will then drop the Fortress buff and move on to like restack it with a different weapon. So I've tried to constantly switch weapons to restack it using Primal Armor, but it works, but it doesn't. It's kind of a little bit of a niche type thing to do, which I'll go into more depth later. Now, for the hat, this can be anything. Honestly, it can just be anything. I've just got Surgero's Barrette for Sharp Eye right now, just as a test, but you're going to be wanting to use Panzer Drain for that armor steal. You're wanting to stack as much armor as you can. Having that steal, that 33% steal, is going to kind of increase that boost a lot more, and having it as a 5-second effect is going to make this build a lot easier to stack. Which I will get into the seconds and the stacking also at the end of the video. I'm just going to quickly breeze through this. For my chest piece, it's going to have Second Quake and Primal Armor. Second Quake's always going to be there just because you kind of want to use Earthquake in this, because it's going to be the easiest tool to stack your armor with, other than getting kills using something like the mitigation from death. But it's going to be your most easiest thing to do, to just continuously stack armor. And Primal Armor is going to be there as another utility function to use Fortress against and stack with the Mighty Tank skill tree perk, which will be discussed kind of at the end. Doubling your armor for 7 seconds is nuts when you compare it to things that can also, increase your armor and then stack the damage that it grants additionally afterwards, and then continuously do that over a 7-second or 10-second time period. Now your pants are going to be Primal Chain Gun. This can be whatever as well. I got it because it's just another damage boost, another way to kind of just make numbers insane and just keep going through it. Just breezing through content really easily. Gloves is going to be Death's Door, like discussed, and Armor Boost. Armor Boost is going to give you this really just easy way to stack armor during the times you're cycling between Primal Armor and Fortress. Using it will just be, last to 8 seconds, which is really good. Having a short cooldown that gives you armor bonuses is going to be really beneficial in this time, and it's just going to, and having it go up to 10 times. It's going to make it just a huge ramp up boost once you get the hang of it. Now your boots can be whatever. I'm using mitigation from death, but I'm kind of finding it that it only works at the start of the ramp up because of its 10-second stacking, and it only does it up to 3 times. The cycle I have just because I'm running health regen in the mid tree, but you can pretty much switch this out for whatever you want. Same as mitigation from death, same as Surgeros Barrette with Sharp Eye. You can pretty much switch the primal. What you really want to keep here is primal armor, and fortress. Though I do heavily kind of lean towards earthquake being also really beneficial because of its armor stacking abilities. You can just kind of just mold onto it with 3 times, and you can do this 3 times with the second quake and extra quake mods. So you can have 3 mods spared just to do whatever you want. Either entwine it with bleed bullets, put tainted blood and the armor reset, the vampire mags, or even you can use things like tremor in the skills tree to kind of use that increase in armor that it gives you on one of the mods, one of the tier 1 mods. Other than that, really it's just going to be kind of really simple in saying that it's just whatever you feel floats your boat at this point, you can put there. Skills are going to be really standard with Earthquake, Boulder Dash, and Golem. Golem you can change to whatever you want. You could put it to Impale if you're really good at mastering that Impale, like a finishing ability where you can get that armor and health regen bonus. If you're really good at this, you can really kind of just increase your armor ramping ability from that starting phase to that mid phase tier really quickly. Especially if you do have the cycle and the and have a good understanding of how the armor save works between fortress and primal armor, which I will go into a little bit down the line. Otherwise, you can really put gravity leap for more mobility, breathtaking bullets for more protection, tremor like we discussed before, and endless mass if you want to pull things out of cover. But really, this third place is really for whatever you want. I kind of just want to stick with Earthquake and Bolt Dash for like I discussed before. Now for the class tree is going to be really simple in the middle. You're going to want to stack as much armor as you can, and you want to go for Mighty Tank. The rest, it's up to you. The rest, Unbroken Vow I go for just because some things I need it because I'm trying to stack in various different ways. Sometimes it just makes me killed and it kind of leaves me there having a second chance just to have that second try at trying to stack bigger numbers and try different things out with the bosses. Otherwise, Heirloom Armor is just it's just it's easy to do if you know how to entwine a lot of these mods into your stacking ability, and once you do, you know that you're doing it right because you're getting these armor bonuses and multiplying it with these mods really quickly. Stone Circle you just want for pretty much that armor increase at close range with enemies, especially if you're doing a lot of the Perforo stuff, a lot of the mobs jumping at you or being swarmed by them. This makes stacking so much more quickly than you thought, just because you have that 7% and 7% on top of all the other percentages you're collecting from Earthquake to Death's Door to Primal Armor, then adding Fortress on top. That through the mob just makes it a lot more easy to do. I did sacrifice this point for this Anomaly in Veins, but I don't mind because I've already got the 10% damage. If I really want to, I can drop Unbroken Vow and have Anomaly in Veins here, used as an extra 10% damage here and an extra 10% damage in that tier 2 cycle mod on my boots. But right now I just need this because I'm just trying to test things out. But if you want to max damage, I highly go to this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the mid tree. You go into the fray for that extra damage bonus, otherwise you can drop 2 skill points here and go wherever you want to go. Other than that, yeah. Now moving on to how all the stacking works. So stacking these mods, it's kind of like a save as in a Word document. It's you to start the ramping process. You want to start ramping your armor. So ramping your armor, you want to start stacking. So your earthquake enemies, you would double it with primal armor, and then you would activate fortress. Now that's your first. Now you started your first rotation. In this first rotation, you then have fortress activated. Now this is where then it starts to get a bit more complicated. So once you've got that fortress activated, now you have 10 seconds, and this will hold. Fortress will hold the number that's been stacked between the the two abilities that you've used, earthquake and primal armor. Will hold the armor stacking in this. Now once you've done that, primal armor will run out after 7 seconds. Your earthquake will run out after 5. So your panzer drain will run out after 5 seconds, and your deathproof gauntlet will run out after 8 seconds. Now, once that's kind of all run out, your fortress, you will then reactivate, Boulder Dash to then double your armor again. So because it's saved all that armor you initially ramped up in that initial setup, you will then ramp up with that primal armor, your initial saved fortress. So then once that's ramped up, your fortress will run out. You'll then double stack again all your earthquake mods on top of that double that you've just collected from fortress plus whatever else is stacking. So then, because fortress will then tenfold that number with that 30% increase to whatever you're doing, and then it will run out. Now then once it's run out, primal armor will then save that number of whatever you've doubled in that 7 seconds, and then it will add on to it via panzer drain, via mitigation from death if you haven't fully stacked it at that point. It will add on via armor boost. Now once you've done that, then you pretty much rinse and repeat. You activate fortress again. Alright, once fortress activate for 10 seconds, you've got this huge damage buff, and you wait that 7 seconds for primal armor to drop out. Primal armor drops out, you double it. You double whatever it's collected from that initial zone, whatever it's collected. You'll then double it with fortress. Fortress will kind of save it as a number, as a multiplier, and then you'll activate primal armor to double that fortress multiplier over whatever it's saved, and then primal armor will double it and create a new number as it's doubled multiplier, and you add on to it again with earthquake. So you add on to it with its panzer drain and its armor boost, and so on and so forth. And you kind of rinse and repeat that process until you become until you come to just some insane number. At one point, you'll just be one-shotting mobs that just, going to any other number, you'll just be stupid damage, and by that time, you'd be one-shotting bosses. I've gotten up to a number where I've just two-clipped full health red bar, bosses like the ones in Boomtown or the one in Frontline. It's just you one-clip things. You just one-clip straight through them. In saying that, if you don't want to drop it, so when you don't want to drop the boost, you can't let fortress run out longer than primal armor. So once fortress runs out, you have to make sure that you save it for 7 seconds. And for 7 seconds, you don't care what you do. You can wait 7 seconds to proc fortress. You can do a few earthquakes split between each other, as long as it's saved with one of the mods, either fortress or primal armor. Then it doesn't matter about dropping it. Once you've overlapped it with either fortress, or you've waited for that that timer's run out between primal armor or that boulder dash stacking, then you'll get that fatal or that fortress buff again. That's kind of, you just don't want to drop that bonus between each other. Now, when Death's Door in this it becomes kind of nuts if you can kind of get your health below this 35. So now I only to get this, I only try to do it just because it's, you know, I've got that dark sacrifice, so I've kind of got an easy leeway to get my health to 50%. And then I was only about, you know, another 15% before I, you know, get to that threshold where I need that Death's Door kicks in. And when that Death's Door kicks in, if you integrate it into that cycle, so if Death's Door already doubles your armor, and you then double it on top after that fortress buff runs out, and you then override it with the primal armor, then you'll get that insane multiplier when you reactivate it again with fortress. And then you'll start seeing, you know, 1.5s. You'll start seeing, you know, firepower at 13.1 mil and, you know, 14.1 mil. You'll get things just going nuts because you can kind of double it that quickly in such a short amount of time without having to proc it through bosses. Because remember, every time you want to proc something, you kind of have to shoot with fortress to proc something, and at one point, to get that inflation of those numbers, bosses are going to be becoming one-shotted, or you're just going to be one-shotting mobs. So fortress ain't going to be proccing as easily as you think it will be once you've got those full stacks, because one bullet will kill one person, and you only need, I know you need 3 bullets, but at that point, finding 3 enemies is going to be a lot more hard, especially when you're just melting through them, and through that 10 seconds that fortress is active while trying to alternate primal armor. I'm not going to blabber on a bit more too longer. I think if you don't get the point, tell me in the comment sections what you don't understand. I'll be happy to go through it a little bit more in depth with you in the comment section or in another video. Though, just watch I'm going to put some gameplay after this of me doing it. I am not perfect at the skill of alternating. I do drop it a few times, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to do in the video. I'm trying to kind of hold it. I'm always trying to reset that fortress buff, and you don't want to spam the ability all the time. You kind of, because you've got that 3-second window between fortress ending and primal armor ending between each other, that you kind of want to restack and then restart another stacking or another multiplier to save that that number you've already collected. So I've been trying to find an easy way to do it. So sometimes I would spam it to try and get into that 7-second window, because it's on a 2-second cooldown. But you kind of have to just feel, if you get knocked out, if you get moved, if you get bumped, it's just it's a little bit more harder. Otherwise, you'll find your niche. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. If you've listened to this long, if you comment, subscribe, like, and enjoy the background footage. Thanks. Bye.